As 2025 ends, the global economy looks nothing like it did a year ago. The catalyst, Donald Trump's return to the White House and his revival of aggressive tariffs. Tariffs, taxes on imported goods, are now Trump's main weapon, used on a scale never seen before. For decades, the U.S. championed free trade, building alliances and lowering barriers. Trump, however, sees this as a raw deal for America, blaming open markets for lost manufacturing and trade deficits. His America First doctrine uses tariffs to force countries to renegotiate on U.S. terms. This approach has upended global commerce, leaving allies uncertain and businesses scrambling. Now world leaders aren't asking how to deepen trade, but how to survive a U.S. rewriting the rules. Some nations have accepted Washington's new terms, others are seeking new partners. The result? A fundamental realignment of global power. The tariff tango is forcing countries to pick new partners, reshaping alliances for years to come. The world's economic order is being rewritten, one tariff at a time. In July 2025, President Trump issued a stark ultimatum 14 nations had until August 1st to accept new trade deals or face sweeping tariffs. This was no negotiation, it was economic warfare. Unlike past U.S. policies targeting specific goods, Trump threatened blanket tariffs on on entire countries, including close allies like Japan and South Korea. BRICS nations and their partners faced even harsher penalties. The message was clear: retaliate, and the tariffs would only increase. The World Trade Organization was sidelined, American power now set the rules. A brief pause extended the deadline, but the threat remained. For countries like Japan, this was a seismic shock, forcing a painful reassessment of their relationship with the U.S. The era of one-sided trade deals was over. America was dictating new terms. America's allies faced Trump's deadline divided and vulnerable. In theory, Japan, South Korea, and the EU could have united to push back. Instead, each scrambled for its own deal, undermined by the Trump administration's divide-and-conquer tactics. The EU secured a separate negotiation track, leaving others to fend for themselves. As the deadline loomed, unity crumbled. Each country negotiated alone, desperate to avoid the worst tariffs. The result? Japan, South Korea, and the EU all capitulated, accepting painful 15% tariffs and pledging new investments in the US. Their inability to stand together exposed the limits of their alliances and the risks of relying too heavily on America. The lesson was clear. In this new era, economic survival trumps old loyalties. The US had forced its allies into submission, reshaping the global balance of power. The cost of disunity was steep, and the world took notice. The age of collective bargaining was over. As U.S. allies faltered, the BRICS bloc surged. Once dismissed as a loose group, BRICS expanded in 2024, adding Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. This new lineup gave BRICS real economic and geopolitical clout, representing a huge share of global population, GDP, and oil. BRICS's mission: build alternatives to Western-dominated systems, reduce reliance on the US dollar, and offer new financing through the new development bank. As Trump's tariffs spread, BRICS positioned itself as the new champion of free trade and multilateralism. At a Brazil summit, BRICS leaders condemned US tariffs and called for a multipolar world. For countries like Japan, BRICS stability and collective strength became increasingly attractive. The world was watching and considering new alliances. The August 2025 trade deal was a wake-up call for Japan. Decades of relying on the US for economic security suddenly looked risky. With Western allies divided and tariffs imposed, Japan began quietly pivoting toward BRICS. This wasn't abandoning the US, but diversifying for survival. Japanese officials opened talks with BRICS nations, seeking new trade and investment opportunities. Corporations shifted investments to BRICS countries, especially in energy and infrastructure. Japan secured long-term energy deals with Saudi Arabia and the UAE, reducing its vulnerability to US pressure. This strategic shift marked a historic change. Japan, once America's staunchest ally in Asia, was now building parallel relationships with a bloc, challenging US dominance. The move was pragmatic, not ideological, a response to the new global reality. Japan's realignment is reshaping Asia's economic map and signaling a broader shift worldwide. In a world of shifting alliances, Japan is hedging its bets. Trump's tariffs sent shockwaves far beyond the major powers. In Bangladesh, a 35% tariff threatened to devastate the garment industry and plunge millions into poverty. African nations, reliant on U.S. trade, condemned the new tariffs and began seeking alternatives. China and BRICS quickly offered investment and trade deals, capitalizing on the discontent. Not all countries were caught off guard. Vietnam negotiated early, accepting a 20% tariff in exchange for U.S. market access, while boosting ties with China and BRICS. Vietnam's nimble diplomacy showed that flexibility could yield better outcomes than resistance. Meanwhile, China watched closely, warning of retaliation and positioning itself as a leader of the global South. By criticizing U.S. unilateralism, China deepened ties with countries alienated by Washington. The chaos created diplomatic openings for BRICS and China, accelerating the shift toward a multipolar world. Smaller economies learned a hard lesson. In this new era, survival means adaptability and new alliances. The U.S. lost trust and influence across the developing world. The global order was fragmenting. The tariff shock was a turning point. By year's end, Trump's tariffs had done more than disrupt trade. They'd redrawn the world's alliances. The old post-war order, built on U.S. leadership and open markets, was fractured. Trust between America and its allies eroded. Security guarantees no longer shielded them from economic coercion. Japan's pivot to BRICS signaled a deeper, long-term realignment. BRICS, once dismissed, now offered stability and multilateralism, attracting new partners. The world was moving toward a multipolar order, with multiple centers of power. The tariff tango forced nations to rethink dependencies and alliances. America's ability to dictate terms was fading. A new, uncertain era had begun, one defined by fractured alliances and rising alternatives. The global stage is more competitive and unpredictable than ever.